The mining vessel Stellar Prospect drifted through empty space like a dead leaf on still water. All around it there was nothing but darkness and distant stars. The ship had stopped moving 3 days ago when its main engine exploded without warning. Now it floated in a region of space that no human had ever mapped. Kang Tae-ho sat at the communications console and wiped sweat from his forehead. The air recyclers were working at half power to save energy, and the temperature inside the ship was climbing hour by hour. He looked at the damaged equipment in front of him and felt his stomach twist with worry. "How bad is it?" Captain Yoon Ha-jun asked from behind him. Tai-ho turned to face his captain. Yoon Ha-jun was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been flying ships for 20 years. But Tae-ho had never seen him look so worried before. "The main transmitter is destroyed," Tae-ho said. "I can try to send a signal using the backup system, but the range is very short. The nearest human outpost is too far away. They might not hear us." "Try anyway," the captain said. "We have maybe 6 days of oxygen left. If nobody comes for us, we die here." Tae-ho nodded and turned back to his work. The backup transmitter was old and had not been used in years. He opened the panel and looked at the wires inside. Some of them were burned. Others were simply disconnected. He would have to fix what he could and hope it was enough. The other crew members moved around the ship quietly. There were 12 people aboard the Stellar Prospect, and all of them knew the situation was bad. Nobody spoke about death, but everybody thought about it. They went about their duties with serious faces and careful movements. Tae-ho worked for 6 hours straight. He replaced wires, cleaned connections, and tested every part of the backup system. When he finally finished, his hands were black with grease, and his back ached from bending over the console. "I think it will work," he told the captain, "but I cannot promise the signal will reach anyone." "Send it," Yoon Ha-jun said. Tae-ho entered the standard distress code that all human ships used. He included their location, the nature of their emergency, and a request for immediate help. Then he pressed the button to transmit. The signal went out into space at the speed of light. Tae-ho watched the screen and waited for some sign that it had reached its destination. But something was wrong. The frequency indicator showed a number he did not recognize. "Captain," he said slowly, "I think I made a mistake." Yoon Ha-jun stepped closer. "What kind of mistake?" "The backup transmitter was damaged more than I realized. The signal went out on the wrong frequency. This is not a human channel." Tae-ho felt cold fear spread through his chest. "I sent our distress call to someone else." The captain stared at the screen for a long moment. His jaw tightened, and his hands formed into fists at his sides. "Can you send it again on the correct frequency?" Tae-ho tried. He adjusted the controls and entered the codes again. But when he pressed the transmit button, nothing happened. The backup system had burned out completely. It would never work again. "No," Tae-ho said quietly. "The transmitter is dead." The two men stood in silence. Around them, the ship hummed with the sound of failing systems. Somewhere in the distance, their signal was traveling through space toward an unknown destination. There was nothing they could do to stop it. "Who did we contact?" the captain asked. "I do not know," Tae-ho admitted. "That frequency is not in our database. It could be anybody. It could be no one. Or it could be something hostile." Tae-ho did not answer. He knew the captain was right. Humanity had encountered several alien species since leaving Earth, and not all of them were friendly. Some saw humans as competitors, others saw them as prey. A distress signal was like blood in the water. It could attract help, or it could attract something far worse. The days passed slowly. The crew rationed their food and water. They turned off every system that was not essential and spent most of their time in darkness to save power. The temperature continued to rise as the air recyclers struggled to keep working. Tae-ho spent his time trying to repair other systems, but there was little he could do. The engine was beyond fixing without a proper shipyard. The transmitter was completely destroyed. All they could do was wait and hope. On the 5th day, something happened. Tai-Ho was sleeping in his quarters when the proximity alarm woke him. He jumped out of bed and ran to the bridge. The captain was already there, staring at the main screen with wide eyes. "Something is coming," Yoon Ha-jun said. Tai-Ho looked at the screen and saw a single dot moving toward them. It was a ship, but it was not shaped like any human vessel he had ever seen. It was long and curved, like a crescent moon, and it moved through space with perfect grace. "Is it responding to our signal?" Tai-Ho asked. "It must be," the captain said. "The question is, what it plans to do when it gets here." The alien ship came closer and closer. Soon it was near enough for the cameras to show details. The hull was silver and covered with symbols that Tai-Ho could not read. There were no visible weapons, but that did not mean the ship was harmless. Then the communication system made a sound. It was a simple tone, repeated 3 times. Someone was trying to contact them. Tai-Ho looked at the captain. "What do we do?" Yoon Ha-jun took a deep breath. "Answer it. We have no other choice." Tai-Ho opened the channel. For a moment there was only silence. Then a voice came through the speakers. It was speaking a language that Tai-Ho had never heard before. The words were soft and musical, but there was also something hard underneath them, something cautious. "They are talking to us," Tai-Ho said, "but I do not understand them." He activated the translation software and hoped it would work. After a few seconds, words began to appear on the screen. The translation was rough and incomplete, but the meaning was clear enough. "Unknown vessel, you sent signal. We received. State your purpose. State your species." Tai-Ho felt his heart beating fast. This was first contact with a species humanity had never met. Everything he said now could determine whether his crew lived or died. He looked at the captain one more time. Yoon Ha-jun nodded slowly. Tai-Ho leaned toward the microphone and spoke. "We are humans. We are stranded. We need help." He sent the message and waited. The alien ship hung in space before them, silent and still. Whatever happened next was out of his hands. All he could do was hope that somewhere in this vast and dangerous galaxy there were strangers willing to help. Commander Seleth stood on the bridge of the Dawn's Grace and studied the alien vessel on her screen. It was an ugly thing, she thought, all sharp angles and rough metal. It looked like something built for work, not beauty. But it was the creatures inside that concerned her most. Humans. She had heard stories about them since she was young. Every Valari had. Humans were violent. Humans were greedy. Humans took what they wanted and destroyed what they could not take. The Galactic Councils had warned all peaceful species to avoid contact with them. And now here was a human ship sending signals into Valari space. "Commander," Navigator Kaleth said from her station, "they have responded to our message." "Put it on screen," Syleth ordered. Words appeared before her, translated from the human language into Valari text. The message was simple and direct. "We are humans. We are stranded. We need help." Healer Mireth stepped forward from the back of the bridge. She was smaller than Syleth and had a softer face, but her eyes were sharp with intelligence. "They claim to need assistance." "Of course they do," Syleth said. "That is what predators always say before they strike." "Perhaps," Mireth said, "or perhaps they are telling the truth." Syleth turned to look at her old friend. They had served together for many years and had learned to trust each other. But on this matter, Syleth was not sure she agreed. "You think we should help them?" Syleth asked. "I think we should investigate," Mireth said. "Our code requires it. We do not leave travelers to die in space without first learning their situation." Syleth knew she was right. The Valari had followed that code for thousands of years. It was what separated them from savage species. It was what made them civilized. But humans were different. Humans were dangerous. "Commander," Khalith said again, "the human ship shows severe damage. Their engine appears to be completely offline. Life support is failing. If the readings are correct, they will be dead within 2 days." Sileth looked at the young navigator. Khalith was barely an adult by Valari standards, eager and full of hope. She had never seen the things Sileth had seen. She did not understand how cruel the galaxy could be. "How many life signs?" Sileth asked. 12, Khalith answered. "All in one section of the ship. They appear to be conserving resources. 12 lives." Sileth thought about that number. 12 creatures who would die alone in the darkness if she turned away. Her code demanded action. Her fear demanded caution. She felt torn between the two. "Open a channel," she said finally. "I will speak with them directly." The communication screen flickered, and then Sileth saw a human for the first time in her life. She had expected a monster. She had expected teeth and claws and cruel eyes. But the creature looking back at her was none of those things. The human was smaller than she imagined. It had smooth skin and dark hair and eyes that showed worry and hope at the same time. It wore simple clothing covered in dirt and grease. It looked tired. It looked afraid, but it did not look dangerous. "I am Commander Sileth of the Valari vessel Dawn's Grace," she said. "You have entered our space uninvited. Explain yourself." The human spoke, and the translation came through a moment later. "My name is Kang Tai Ho. I am a communications engineer. I sent the signal that reached you. It was a mistake. Our transmitter was damaged, and the message went to the wrong frequency. We were trying to contact our own people, not yours." "A mistake," Sileth repeated. "You expect me to believe that?" "I expect nothing," the human said. "I only tell you what happened. Our ship is dying. Our crew will die with it. I made an error that brought us to your attention, and now I am asking for your help. That is all I can do." Sileth studied the creature's face. Valari were good at reading emotions, even in other species. They had to be. It was how they survived in a galaxy full of liars and killers. And what Sileth saw in this human's face was not deception. It was genuine fear and genuine hope, mixed together in equal measure. "Why should I trust you?" she asked. "Humans are known throughout the galaxy as violent and cruel. Your species takes what it wants by force." The human was quiet for a moment. Then it spoke again. "I cannot speak for all humans. I can only speak for myself and my crew. We are not soldiers. We are not conquerors. We are miners. We dig rocks from asteroids and sell them to feed our families. We have never harmed anyone. We have never taken anything that was not ours." "Pretty words," Sileth said. "But words are easy." "Then let me show you with actions," the human said. "Let me come aboard your ship, alone, unarmed. You can restrain me if you wish. You can question me. Do whatever you need to do to satisfy yourself that we mean no harm. Just please do not leave my people to die." The bridge was silent. Sileth felt the eyes of her crew on her, waiting for her decision. This was the moment that would define everything that came after. She could refuse and fly away and never think about these humans again. Or she could take a risk that might cost her everything. She thought about the code. She thought about honor. She thought about what kind of person she wanted to be. "Very well," she said. "You may come aboard, alone and unarmed, as you said. If you try anything hostile, you will die. Do you understand?" "I understand," the human said. "Thank you." Sileth ended the transmission and turned to her crew. "Prepare a security team. I want 6 guards in the docking bay when he arrives. Mireth, you will examine him for weapons and diseases. Khalith, you will stay on the bridge and monitor the human ship. If anything suspicious happens, we leave immediately." "Yes, Commander," they both said. Sileth walked to the window and looked out at the damaged human vessel. She had made her choice. Now she would have to live with the results. The docking procedure took an hour. The human ship was so badly damaged that connecting the two vessels was difficult. But finally the airlocks joined and the doors opened. Syleth stood with her guards and watched as the human stepped onto her ship. He was even smaller in person than he had appeared on the screen. He moved slowly, keeping his hands visible at all times. His eyes went from face to face, taking in everything around him. He stopped a few steps inside the airlock and waited. "Search him," Syleth ordered. Two guards came forward and examined the human carefully. They found nothing, no weapons, no devices, no hidden technology. He was exactly what he claimed to be, a stranded engineer with nothing but the clothes on his body. "I keep my promises," the human said. Syleth looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "We will see. Bring him to the interrogation room. I have many questions and he is going to answer all of them." The guards took the human away. Syleth watched him go and felt something strange in her chest. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was something else entirely. Something she could not name. She had spent her whole life believing that humans were monsters. But the creature she had just met did not fit that belief at all. He seemed honest. He seemed decent. He seemed like someone who could be trusted. Perhaps, she thought, everything she knew about humans was wrong. Or perhaps this was all an act, and the true nature of humanity would reveal itself soon enough. Either way, she was about to find out. The interrogation room was small and cold. Taeho sat in a metal chair with his hands resting on the table in front of him. Two guards stood by the door, watching him with careful eyes. He tried to stay calm, but his heart was beating fast. Commander Syleth sat across from him. She was taller than him by almost a head. With silver-blue skin and eyes that seemed to look right through him, her face showed no emotion at all. She was like a statue made of ice. "Tell me about humans," she said. Taeho blinked. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. Your history. Your culture. Your nature. I want to understand what you are." It was a big question. Taeho thought for a moment before answering. "Humans come from a planet called Earth. It is far from here, in a different part of the galaxy. We have been traveling through space for about 300 years. We are explorers and traders and builders. We work hard to make better lives for ourselves and our families." "And what about war?" Syleth asked. "Humans are famous for war." Taeho could not deny it. "Yes, we have fought many wars, against each other and against other species. Humans are not perfect. We have done terrible things in our past. But we have also done great things. We have built cities and created art and explored the unknown. We are capable of both good and evil, like any intelligent species." Syleth's eyes narrowed. "The Galactic Councils say that humans cannot be trusted. They say you are dangerous and violent and should be avoided." "Some humans are dangerous," Taeho admitted. "But most are not. Most just want to live in peace and take care of the people they love. The bad ones get all the attention. The good ones are ignored." Syleth was quiet for a long time. She seemed to be thinking about his words, turning them over in her mind like stones in her hand. Finally, she spoke again. "Why did you offer to come here alone? You could have stayed on your ship. You could have waited to see what we would do." "Because I caused this situation," Taeho said. "I sent the signal. I made the mistake. It was my responsibility to fix it, and I thought that if I came alone, it would show you that we are not a threat. A dangerous person does not walk unarmed onto a stranger's ship. Or perhaps a clever person does exactly that to lower the guard of his enemies." Taeho met her eyes. "You are not my enemy. I hope I am not yours." The door opened, and healer Mirith walked in. She carried a small device in her hands and looked at Taeho with open curiosity. Unlike the commander, there was warmth in her face. She seemed genuinely interested in him. "Commander," Mirith said, "I would like to examine the human more closely. His biology is fascinating. I have never seen anything like it." Syleth nodded. "Do what you need to do." Mirith approached Taeho and held up the device. It made a soft humming sound as she moved it around his body. She looked at the readings on the screen and made small sounds of surprise. "Remarkable," she said. "Your body has two separate systems for carrying oxygen. You have redundant organs. Your immune system is extremely aggressive." She looked at him with wonder. "You are built like a survival machine." Taeho smiled a little. "Humans evolved on a difficult planet. We had to be tough to survive." "And you have two genders," Mirith continued. "Male and female. You need both to reproduce." "Yes. Do Velari not have that?" "No. We are all female. We reproduce through a process called parthenogenesis. We do not need males." Mirith tilted her head. "I have always wondered what it would be like to have two forms of the same species. It must be very interesting." "It can be," Taeho said. "It can also be complicated." Mirith laughed. It was a pleasant sound, light and genuine. Taeho felt some of the tension leave his body. If he could make one of them laugh, perhaps there was hope after all. The examination continued for another hour. Mirith asked him many questions about human bodies and human lives. Taeho answered as well as he could. He found himself enjoying the conversation. Mirith was intelligent and curious and treated him like a person, not a prisoner. When she was finished, Syleth dismissed her and the guards. Taeho was alone with the commander again. He waited for her to speak. "Mirith likes you," Syleth said. "She seems kind." "She is. Perhaps too kind. She sees the good in everyone even when it is not there." Syleth leaned forward. "I am not like her. I have seen too much of the galaxy to trust easily. I have watched good people die because they believed in the wrong strangers." "I understand," Taeho said. "Trust must be earned." "Yes, and you have not earned it yet." "Then give me the chance." Syleth studied him for a long moment. Then she stood up. "Come with me." She led him out of the interrogation room and through the corridors of the ship. Taeho looked around with interest. The Dawn's grace was beautiful in a way that human ships were not. The walls curved like the inside of a shell. The lights were soft and warm. Everything felt organic and natural, as if the ship had grown rather than been built. They stopped at a window that looked out into space. Taeho could see the stellar prospect floating in the distance. It looked so small and fragile compared to the Velari vessel. His crewmates were still inside, waiting for news, waiting to find out if they would live or die. "Your people are running out of time," Syleth said. "I know. I have decided to help you. We will take your crew aboard and bring you to safety. But you must understand something first." She turned to face him. "This is not trust. This is duty. The Velari Code requires us to aid those in distress. I am following my code, nothing more." "I understand," Taeho said. "Thank you." "Do not thank me yet. If any of your people cause trouble, if any of you prove to be what the galaxy says you are, I will put you all back on that dying ship and leave you there. Do you understand?" "I do." "Then we have an agreement." Syleth looked back at the window. "Tell your captain to prepare for transfer. We will begin in 1 hour." Taeho felt relief wash over him like a wave. His crew was going to survive. They would not die in the cold darkness of space. He wanted to laugh. He wanted to cry. He wanted to tell Captain Yoon Ha-jun the good news right away. But before he could move, he saw something that made his blood turn cold. Another ship had appeared on the edge of the window. It was dark and angular, covered with weapons. It was not Valari. It was not human. It was something else entirely. "What is that?" Teho asked. Seelith's face went pale. "That is a Kreth hunting vessel." "Kreth? Slavers, raiders, the worst species in this sector." Seelith turned away from the window and ran toward the bridge. "They must have intercepted your signal too. They are here to take your crew." Teho ran after her. His relief was gone now, replaced by fresh fear. They had been saved from one death only to face another. The galaxy, it seemed, was not finished testing them yet. The bridge of the Dawn's Grace was alive with activity. Officers ran to their stations and called out reports. Warning lights flashed red and yellow. The calm beauty of the Valari ship had transformed into something urgent and tense. Commander Seleth stood at the center of it all, her eyes fixed on the main screen. The Kreth vessel was moving closer, and two more had appeared behind it. 3 ships in total. The Dawn's Grace was surrounded. "They are hailing us," Kalith reported from her station. "On screen," Seleth ordered. The face that appeared was like something from a nightmare. The Kreth were reptilian creatures with dark scales and yellow eyes. Their mouths were full of sharp teeth, and they smiled in a way that made Teho's skin crawl. He had heard about the Kreth before, but had never seen one in person. Now he understood why they were so feared. "Valari vessel," the Kreth commander said. "We have tracked a human signal to this location. The humans belong to us. Turn them over and you may leave in peace." "The humans are under my protection," Seleth said. "They are not property to be claimed." The Kreth laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Protection? Since when do Valari protect humans? Your councils have declared them dangerous. You should be thanking us for taking them off your hands." "Leave this space immediately," Seleth said. "You have no authority here." "Authority?" The Kreth's eyes gleamed with amusement. "We have 3 ships. You have 1. That is all the authority we need." The transmission ended. Seleth turned away from the screen and looked at her crew. Teho could see the worry on their faces. They were outgunned, and they knew it. "What are our options?" Seleth asked. "We can fight," her weapons officer said, "but we will lose. Their ships are larger and better armed than ours." "We can run," Keyleth suggested. "Our engines are faster than theirs. If we leave now, we might escape." "And abandon the humans to the Kreth?" Mireth shook her head. "That is not who we are." "Then what do you suggest?" the weapons officer demanded. "That we die for strangers? For humans?" The bridge erupted in argument. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to flee. Some could not decide at all. Teho stood in the corner and watched them debate his fate. He felt helpless and guilty. His mistake had brought this danger not just to his own crew, but to the Valari as well. He stepped forward. "Commander." Seleth turned to look at him. The arguing stopped. Every eye on the bridge focused on the human in their midst. "Let me return to my ship," Teho said. "If the Kreth want humans, give them what they want. Your people will be safe." "You would surrender yourself?" Seleth asked. "If it saves everyone else, yes." Kalith stood up from her station. "No, that is not right. We cannot hand him over to those monsters. You heard what he said on the interrogation room. He came here alone. He risked everything to save his crew. That is not the action of a violent species." "This is not your decision," the weapons officer said. "And it should not be yours either," Kalith shot back. "Commander, we have a code. We help those in distress. We do not abandon them to slavers." Seleth raised her hand and the bridge went quiet. She stood still for a long moment, thinking. Teho could not read her face. He had no idea what she would decide. Then she spoke. "Kalith is right. We cannot abandon these people. If we do, we become no better than the Kreth ourselves." She turned to her weapons officer. Prepare for battle. Commander, we will not survive. Then we will die with honor. But we will not run and we will not surrender innocence to evil. Syleth looked around at her crew. This is who we are. This is what it means to be Velari. If you cannot accept that, you are free to leave. But I am staying. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. One by one, the officers turned back to their stations and began preparing for combat. Teho felt something warm grow in his chest. These people were going to fight for him. They were going to die for him. And they barely knew him at all. He could not let that happen. Commander, he said again, I have an idea. Syleth looked at him with sharp eyes. What kind of idea? My ship is a mining vessel. We have industrial equipment, cutting lasers, drilling tools, explosive charges for breaking asteroids. If I can get back aboard and modify them, I might be able to create weapons strong enough to fight the Kreth. Mining tools as weapons? It has been done before. Human miners have fought off pirates this way many times. The power output of a mining laser is higher than most military weapons. The problem is accuracy and range, but at close distance it could cut through their shields. Syleth considered this. How long would you need? An hour. Maybe less if my crew helps. The Kreth will not wait that long. Then you need to buy me time. It was a crazy plan. Teho knew that. But it was better than surrendering and better than dying without trying. He looked at Syleth and waited for her answer. Do it, she said. Kaleth, help him get back to his ship. Weapons officer, engage the Kreth. Keep them busy while the humans work. Teho ran. Kaleth ran with him. They raced through the corridors of the Dawn's Grace and reached the docking port in minutes. The connection to the stellar prospect was still open. Teho climbed through and found Captain Yoon Ha-jun waiting on the other side. What is happening? The captain demanded. Kreth slavers, Teho said quickly. 3 ships. The Velari are fighting them, but they need our help. Help? We have nothing to fight with. We have the mining equipment. I need everyone in the cargo bay right now. I will explain on the way. The crew assembled in minutes. Teho outlined his plan while they worked. They would disconnect the mining lasers from their mounts and connect them to the ship's power grid. They would use the asteroid charges as missiles. They would turn their work tools into weapons of war. It was difficult and dangerous work. The mining lasers were not designed to be used this way. The power connections were unstable. One mistake could cause an explosion that would destroy the entire ship. But the crew of the Stellar Prospect did not hesitate. They worked fast and they worked well because they knew what was at stake. Outside, the battle had begun. Teho could hear the distant sounds of weapons fire through the hull. The ship shook as explosions went off nearby. The Velari were fighting hard, but they were taking damage. They could not hold out forever. Almost there, Teho said. Just a few more connections. His hands were steady, even though his heart was racing. He thought about Syleth and Kaleth and Myreth. He thought about his crewmates and their families back home. He thought about everyone who was counting on him to succeed. The last wire clicked into place. The control panel lit up with green lights. The modified weapons were ready. Captain, Teho said, we are online. Yoon Ha-jun nodded grimly. Then let us show these Kreth what humans can do. The battle was going badly for the Dawn's Grace. Teho could see the damage on the screens as he prepared the modified weapons. The Velari ship had black marks along its hull where Kreth weapons had struck. One of its engines was smoking. It was still fighting, still maneuvering, but it could not last much longer. How do we fire these things? Captain Yoon Ha-jun asked. I have connected them to the navigation console, Teho said. You will need to aim the entire ship because we cannot move the lasers themselves. Point us at a target and I will fire. The captain nodded and moved to the controls. The Stellar Prospect was damaged and slow, but its maneuvering thrusters still worked. He turned the ship until one of the Kreth vessels filled the screen. "Range is too far," Tejo said. "We need to get closer. They will shoot at us. The Velari will cover us, I hope." The captain pushed the thrusters to full power. The stellar prospect began to move, crawling through space toward the enemy. It was painfully slow. Every second felt like an hour. Tejo watched the distance indicator count down and prayed they would make it. The Kreth noticed them. One of the ships turned and fired. The shot went wide, missing them by a few meters. Another shot followed and another. The stellar prospect had no shields and no armor. One direct hit would destroy them. Then the Dawn's Grace swept in from the side. It fired everything it had at the Kreth vessel, forcing it to turn away and defend itself. Silith was buying them time just as Tejo had asked. "Close enough," Tejo said. "Firing now." He pressed the button. The mining laser activated with a roar that shook the entire ship. A beam of intense blue light shot out from the cargo bay and struck the Kreth vessel directly in the center of its hull. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Kreth shields flickered and failed. The beam cut through the outer armor like it was paper. It kept going, slicing deeper and deeper into the ship. Explosions erupted along the path of the cut. The Kreth vessel broke apart in a ball of fire and debris. Tejo stared at the screen in shock. He had hoped the modified weapon would work, but he had not expected it to work this well. The mining laser had destroyed a warship in a single shot. "One down," the captain said. "Two to go." He turned the ship toward the second Kreth vessel, but the enemy was faster. They had seen what happened to their ally, and they were not going to let it happen again. The second ship came straight at the stellar prospect, firing rapidly. A shot struck the hull. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. Tejo felt the floor shake beneath his feet and smelled smoke in the air. "Hull breach in Section 4, someone reported. "We are losing atmosphere." "Seal it off," the captain ordered. "Keep us moving." Tejo worked at his console, trying to line up another shot, but the Kreth ship was too fast and too agile. Every time he thought he had a target, it moved away. The mining laser was powerful but slow. It was not designed for this kind of fight. He needed another approach. "Captain," he said, "I have a different idea. Remember how this whole situation started? You sent our signal on the wrong frequency." "Exactly. And the Kreth intercepted it because they were listening on many frequencies at once. Their communication systems are very sensitive. What if we use that against them?" "How?" Tejo's fingers flew across the console. "I can overload our transmitter and broadcast a massive burst of noise on every frequency at once. It will blind their sensors and scramble their communications. They will not be able to see or talk to each other." "Do it!" Tejo redirected power from the backup systems to the transmitter. He pushed the device far beyond its normal limits. Warning lights appeared on the screen telling him to stop, but he ignored them. This was their only chance. "Broadcasting now." The signal went out in all directions. It was not a message. It was chaos, pure electromagnetic noise designed to disrupt and confuse. The effect on the Kreth was immediate. Their ship stopped coordinating. They began flying erratically, bumping into debris and each other. Their weapons fired wildly, hitting nothing. They were blind and deaf, helpless in the middle of the battlefield. "Now," Tejo said. "Hit them now." The Dawn's Grace struck first. It came from above and fired down at the nearest Kreth ship. The shots punched through the enemy shields and tore into the hull. The Kreth tried to return fire, but could not find their target. Captain Yoon Ha-jun lined up the second shot. The mining laser fired again, another beam of blue death. It hit the second Kreth ship in the engine section. The vessel spun out of control and crashed into an asteroid, exploding on impact. 2 down, 1 to go. The last Kreth ship tried to run. It turned away from the battle and accelerated, trying to escape the signal disruption. But it was too late. The Dawn's Grace pursued it with surprising speed. Syleth was not going to let any of them get away. Teho watched on the screen as the Valari ship caught up with the fleeing enemy. It fired once, twice, 3 times. Each shot found its target. The Kreth vessel broke apart piece by piece until there was nothing left but floating wreckage. The battle was over. Teho sat back in his chair and let out a long breath. His hands were shaking. His whole body was shaking. He could not believe they had won. He could not believe they were still alive. "You did it," the captain said quietly. "We all did it," Teho replied. "Humans and Valari together." The communication screen flickered, and Commander Syleth appeared. There were cuts on her face and smoke behind her, but she was smiling. It was the first time Teho had seen her smile. "Human," she said. "That was impressive." "Thank you for protecting us," Teho said. "Without your courage, we would be dead or in chains. And without your creativity, we would have lost the battle." Syleth shook her head slowly. "I have never seen anyone turn mining tools into weapons so quickly. Your people are remarkable. We do what we must to survive." "Yes, I am beginning to understand that." Syleth paused. "Your ship is damaged beyond repair. You cannot stay on it any longer. Bring your crew to the Dawn's Grace. You will travel with us from now on." "Where are we going?" Syleth's smile faded, replaced by something more serious. "To my homeworld. The High Council will want to hear about what happened here. They will want to meet the humans who helped us defeat the Kreth." Teho felt a mix of emotions. Relief that they would survive. Worry about facing an alien government. Hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something good. "We will be there," he said. The screen went dark. Teho stood up and looked at his crewmates. They were tired and dirty and injured, but they were alive. They had faced death and won, and now they were going somewhere no human had ever been before. "Let us go," he said. "Our new friends are waiting." The crew of the Stellar Prospect stood in the docking bay of the Dawn's Grace and looked around with wonder. Everything was so different from what they knew. The walls glowed with soft light. The air smelled like flowers. Even the floor felt strange beneath their feet, smooth and warm like living skin. Commander Syleth waited for them with a group of Valari officers. She stepped forward and addressed Captain Yoon Hajun directly. "Welcome aboard," she said. "You and your people are guests here. You will be treated with respect and given everything you need. But I must ask you to follow our rules and cause no trouble. Is that clear?" "Perfectly clear," the captain said. "We are grateful for your help." Syleth nodded. "Good. My crew will show you to your quarters. Rest and recover. We have a long journey ahead of us." The humans were led through the ship in small groups. Teho walked with Kalith, who had volunteered to be his guide. She pointed out different areas as they passed and explained how things worked. "This is the medical bay," she said. "Healer Mireth will want to examine all of you for injuries. This is the food hall. We will prepare meals that are safe for human bodies. And this is the observation deck. You can see the stars from here." Teho stopped at the observation deck and looked out. The view was incredible. Millions of stars stretched out in every direction, bright and beautiful against the black emptiness of space. He had been a spacer for 10 years, but he had never seen anything quite like this. "It is beautiful," he said. "Yes," Kalith agreed. "I never get tired of looking at it." They stood together in silence for a moment. Teho thought about everything that had happened in the past few days. The accident, the signal, the first contact, the battle. It all seemed unreal, like something from a dream. "Can I ask you something?" Kalith said. "Of course." "Why did you offer to surrender to the Kreth? You knew what they would do to you. Why would you give yourself up to save strangers?" Teho considered the question carefully. "Because it was the right thing to do," You were only in danger because of my mistake. I could not let you die for something I caused. But we were strangers. You did not know us. You did not owe us anything. I did not need to know you. You were people in trouble and I could help. That was enough. Kalith looked at him with an expression he could not quite read. The Galactic Councils say that humans only care about themselves. They say you are selfish and cruel. But that is not what I have seen. The galaxy has not seen the best of humanity, Tejo admitted. We have made many mistakes. We have done terrible things to each other and to others. But we are not all bad. Most of us just want to do good and take care of the people around us. I believe you, Kalith said. I think the councils are wrong about your species. They continued walking through the ship. Kalith showed Tejo his quarters, a small room with a bed and a window. It was simple but comfortable, much better than the dying ship he had left behind. Over the next few days, the humans and Velari began to learn about each other. They shared meals together and told stories about their homes. The humans talked about Earth and its blue oceans and green forests. The Velari talked about their homeworld and its crystal mountains and purple skies. Healer Mireth spent hours with the humans, studying their biology and treating their injuries. She was fascinated by everything she learned. Human bodies were so different from Velari bodies, yet they worked so well. She took notes and asked questions and marveled at the answers. One evening she came to Tejo with an unusual request. I need your help, she said. What kind of help? There is a disease that affects some Velari. It is genetic. The body attacks itself and slowly breaks down. We have been searching for a cure for generations, but nothing works. Mireth paused. I have been studying human medical records. Your species had similar diseases long ago. You found ways to treat them. Gene therapy, Tejo said. We modify the damaged genes and replace them with healthy ones. Yes, we do not have this technology. Our scientists never developed it. Mireth looked at him with hope in her eyes. Would you share it with us? Would you help us save our people? Tejo felt humbled by the request. The Velari had saved his life and the lives of his crew. Now he had a chance to save Velari lives in return. Of course, he said. I will tell you everything I know. The journey to the Velari homeworld took 2 weeks. During that time, the relationship between the two species grew stronger. They were no longer strangers. They were becoming friends. Commander Sileth remained cautious, but even she began to soften. She spent time talking with Captain Yun Ha-jun about leadership and duty and the challenges of command. They found they had more in common than either expected. I misjudged your people, Sileth admitted one day. I believed the stories without question. I assumed the worst without evidence. That was wrong of me. You were protecting your crew, the captain said. I would have done the same thing. Perhaps. But protection should not mean blindness. I should have been willing to see the truth, even if it was different from what I expected. As they approached the Velari homeworld, Tejo stood on the observation deck and watched it grow larger on the screen. It was a beautiful planet, covered with oceans and continents and swirling clouds. It looked peaceful and welcoming, but he knew that the true test was still ahead. The High Council would decide the fate of the humans. They would decide whether to accept them as friends or send them away as enemies. Everything depended on that meeting. Kalith came to stand beside him. Are you worried? A little, he admitted. Do not be. The Council will hear the truth about what happened. They will hear how you fought beside us and helped us win. They will see that humans are not what they believed. And if they do not believe it, Kalith smiled. Then we will make them believe. You are not alone in this anymore. You have friends now. Tejo looked at her and felt something warm in his chest. She was right. He was not alone. For the first time since this whole adventure began, He felt like things might actually turn out well. The Dawn's Grace entered orbit around the planet. A message came from the surface requesting their arrival at the council chamber. Commander Sileth gathered everyone on the bridge and gave final instructions. "We will go down together," she said. "Humans and Valari. We will tell our story and show them what we have learned. Whatever happens, we will face it as allies." Tejo looked at his crewmates and saw determination on their faces. They were ready. After everything they had been through, they were not going to give up now. The shuttle launched from the ship and descended toward the planet below. A new chapter was about to begin. The council chamber was the largest room Tejo had ever seen. It was built into the side of a crystal mountain, and sunlight streamed through the walls in 1,000 different colors. Hundreds of Velari sat in curved rows that rose up toward the ceiling. At the center was a platform where the High Council waited. There were 7 council members, all older Velari with silver hair and serious faces. They wore robes decorated with symbols that Tejo did not recognize. They looked down at the humans with expressions that showed nothing at all. "You may approach," the head of the council said. Commander Sileth led the way. She walked with her head high and her back straight, showing no fear. Behind her came Mirith and Keyleth and the rest of her crew. And behind them came the humans, with Captain Yoon Ha-jun and Tai Ho at the front. They stopped at the platform and waited. The chamber was completely silent. Every eye was watching them. "Commander Sileth," the council head said, "you have brought humans to our world. This has never happened before. Explain yourself." Sileth stepped forward. "Honored council, I bring these humans as guests, not prisoners. They came to our space by accident and found themselves in danger. We rescued them because our code demanded it. We fought beside them because they proved themselves worthy allies." "Worthy allies?" One of the other council members leaned forward. "Humans are known throughout the galaxy as violent and untrustworthy. The galactic councils have warned us about them for generations. How can you call them allies?" "Because I saw their actions with my own eyes," Sileth said. "Their engineer came aboard my ship alone and unarmed. He offered to surrender himself to the Kreth to save his crew and mine. He turned mining tools into weapons and helped us defeat 3 enemy ships. These are not the actions of a violent species. These are the actions of honorable people." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The council members looked at each other and spoke in low voices. Tejo could not hear what they were saying, but he could tell they were not convinced. Healer Mireth stepped forward. "Honored council, may I speak?" "You may." "I have studied human biology and human medicine. Their species has knowledge that we do not. They have developed treatments for genetic diseases that could save Valari lives. The human engineer has already agreed to share this knowledge with us freely, asking nothing in return." More murmurs. This time they sounded different, interested instead of suspicious. Navigator Keyleth spoke next. "I have spent much time with the humans during our journey. I have talked with them and eaten with them and learned about their culture. They are not monsters. They are people, just like us. They love their families. They want peace and safety. They make mistakes, but they try to do better. Is that not true of every species?" The council head raised her hand, and the chamber went quiet again. She looked at the humans for a long moment. "You," she said, pointing at Tejo. "The engineer, come forward." Tejo felt his heart beat faster as he walked to the platform. He stopped in front of the council and looked up at the 7 faces watching him. "Your commander says you are honorable," the council head said. "Your healer says you are generous. Your navigator says you are like us. But I want to hear from you. Tell me, human, what do you have to say for yourself?" Tejo took a deep breath. This was the moment that would decide everything. He needed to find the right words. "Honored council," he began, I cannot speak for all humans. We are billions of people spread across many worlds, and we do not all think the same way. Some humans are violent, some are cruel. We have done terrible things in our history, and I will not pretend otherwise." He paused and looked around the chamber at all the watching faces. But most humans are not like that. Most of us just want to live good lives and take care of the people we love. We work hard, and we help our neighbors, and we try to make our corner of the galaxy a little bit better. We are not perfect, but we are not evil. "The Galactic Councils disagree," one of the council members said. "The Galactic Councils have never met us," Tejo replied. "They have heard stories and rumors and propaganda, but they have never sat down with humans and talked to us. They have never seen who we really are." He straightened his shoulders. "You have that chance now. You can judge us by our actions, not by someone else's words. All I ask is that you give us a fair chance to show you what humanity can be." The chamber was silent. Tejo felt sweat on his forehead but did not wipe it away. He had said what he needed to say. Now the decision was in their hands. The council members spoke quietly among themselves. The discussion went on for what felt like hours. Finally, the council head raised her hand again. "We have reached a decision." Tejo held his breath. "The humans will be allowed to remain in Valari space as guests. They will be given shelter and supplies and the opportunity to return to their own people when a transport can be arranged." The council head paused. "Furthermore, we will establish a cultural exchange program between our species. Valari scholars will study human knowledge, and human scholars will study ours. We will learn about each other and see where this relationship can go." Tejo could not believe what he was hearing. They had won. They had actually won. "However," the council head continued, "this is a trial. If the humans prove to be what the galaxy says they are, they will be expelled and all contact will end. Is that understood?" "Yes," Tejo said. "Understood and accepted." "Then we are finished." The council head stood. "Welcome to Valari space, humans. May this be the beginning of a long friendship." The chamber erupted in applause. Tejo felt hands slapping his back and voices congratulating him. He saw Captain Yoon Ha-jun smiling for the first time in weeks. He saw Sileth nodding at him with respect in her eyes. He saw Keyleth grinning so wide it looked like her face might split. Later, after the ceremony was over and the crowds had gone home, Tejo stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The crystal buildings sparkled in the evening light. Flying vehicles moved through the air like birds. It was beautiful and strange and completely unlike anything on Earth. Keyleth came to stand beside him. "You did well today," she said. "I just told the truth. Sometimes that is the hardest thing to do." She looked out at the city. "What will you do now?" Tejo thought about the question. He could go home. He could return to Earth and his old life and forget this whole adventure ever happened. But that did not feel right. Something had changed inside him during these past weeks. He had seen what was possible when different species worked together. He did not want to let that go. "The council mentioned a liaison position," he said. "Someone to represent humans in Valari space. I think I would like to do that." Keyleth smiled. "I was hoping you would say that." "You were?" "Yes. It would be sad to say goodbye after everything we have been through." She turned to face him. "I have learned much from you, Kang Tejo. About humans, and about courage, and about doing the right thing even when it is difficult. I would like to keep learning." Tejo felt warmth spread through his chest. He had come to this place by accident, because of a mistake with a radio frequency. But maybe it was not a mistake at all. Maybe it was meant to happen. Maybe this was exactly where he was supposed to be. "Then let us keep learning together," he said. They stood on the balcony and watched the stars come out, two people from different worlds looking toward a shared future. It was a small beginning, but it was a beginning nonetheless. And sometimes that was all it took to change everything.